Welcome to Cultivating Confidence. Welcome to Cultivating Confidence with me, Gill Gayk, and the lovely Kirsty Vanderbolk. And we're talking today about mindset. Now, remind me, Kirsty, what was the title of our mindset mastery?
I think it was mindset. It was either Mindset Magic or Mindset Mastery. And the reason for that is we've actually done this episode. This is the second time. So we've had a dress rehearsal because the audio didn't work. So honestly, it's mindset. And
we did Mindset Magic last time, and it's Mindset Mastery this time. And you talked about scaffolding, which made me smile. But so what we want to talk about is mindset, and there's lots of people wondering what is mindset and and how does it play to me. And you can have a positive mindset, you can have a growth mindset, you have a negative mindset. It's a kind of it's your attitude. And what's really important is that we recognize how much power we have to do something about our own mindset, because in the world of where everything's changing and things are always confusing, it's your attitude that is going to make the difference, and how you perceive things and how you respond to things is really important. And the whole the power of positive thinking, it really does work. There's some science behind it. And I know that the last podcast we did was awesome, but we didn't have a recording. And I'm really upset because I was on fire that day. So I suppose what we have to do is we all have a choice of how we respond to things. And knowing that you have a choice, that you can, it's the half empty, cup half empty, cup half full scenario. Knowing that you can change your response is really what mastering your mindset is all about. But if I can, do you want me to do I'll do the sciencey bit?
No, let's just, because one of the things that we'll talk about, we'll come on to the science bit, because let's keep people hooked a little bit longer, because hey, we want you to listen, right? So recently I've had a big shift in my mindset, and you know this better than anyone. And it was about my reaction, because I was finding I was getting stressed. And we talk about it all the time, and I'm always busy telling people, how's your mindset? Are you giving time for yourself? Are you refilling your cup? All of these things that we do, but sometimes we don't take our own medicine. And I had to have a really good talk with myself. And I had to have a real good think about, what do I want? And those choices that I make and those decisions that affect my mindset. I found I wasn't sleeping. I was getting a bit stressed, and I was finding I was getting heart palpitations. It was, and it was like, actually, I can choose to be stressed, or I can choose to lean in. And I keep saying the phrase, I'm not going to poke the bear. And it's been my mum's nutting at the moment on it, because I literally, sorry, my mum's head in, I should rephrase that. My mum's head in, because I keep going, no, I'm not going to do that. That's going to poke the bear. That's going to poke the bear. And it's really interesting, because as I say, I'm not going to poke the bear, I find myself a shrug, and that takes some of the stress away. And hopefully now we can go to the science bit.
Oh, well, it's a lot of this it's the stories that you're telling yourself, which is a little bit of what you're doing, and it's a little bit of we have a little bit of the story that's going round and round in your head. What are you telling yourself, and is it giving you a positive outcome or a negative outcome? And it's actually that kind of thing that's really important to recognize, that we can get stuck in our own story, really. And it's just you can change the story. If you change the story, you change how you feel and your response. So the sciencey bit is all about how we manage stress, and when you're stressed out and you're worried about things, your body is coursed with cortisol. The way our brain connections work is that our brain cells are looking for connection, and that synaptic gap is bridged by chemicals. Now, if you're having a negative thought or you're very stressed, that the chemical that's released is cortisol, and that is the train of thought is cortisol, which streams through your body, which it is designed for that fight or flight moment, really. So the design is that when you're stressed, is that all of your periphery functions close down, and it sends all of the power to your muscles for the fight or flight. So it's cortisol and adrenaline courses through your body, and so that you're ready to, beat off the bear, if we're talking about bears. So if you did poke that bear and you needed to beat him off, you'd be ready. But in modern day scenarios, that's not what our stress is not about. We don't release that adrenaline. We don't release the anxiety. So we're all pent up all of the time. So, and that's what we're having at the moment, is what a lot of people are talking about, a cortisol detox, is because we're streamed with stress and cortisol. But there's another way of dealing with it, apart from shaking off. Absolutely shake it off, because it's really important to get rid of that. So if you're feeling a bit stressed, just a little bit of that. The shrug of the shoulders helps. Dancing around the kitchen helps. Shadow boxing, all of those things that we talk about, all of the walking, exercise, getting outside, that all helps to reduce that cortisol and that stress. But when we talk about the power of positive thinking, which I think would be really interesting for our audience to understand, is that when you have a positive thought, the chemicals that are released are serotonin. So it's the happy chemicals. And what happens where with cortisol, your brain shrinks, your brain changes so that you can't think. You are literally fight or flight. You're not thinking on closes down some of the thought processes. But when you're streamed with serotonin and the happy hormones, then what happens is that your brain function flourishes. So, and your thoughts and ideas come up. So your creativity is not inhibited. With cortisol, your creativity is inhibited. With serotonin, the happy hormones, your creativity is enhanced and you see solutions. And there's lots of ways we do that. If you focus on the negative, I can't do that, then you won't be able to do that. But if you focus on the positive, you find solutions, even if you don't know in that precise moment what the solution is. You know what the outcome is you want, and then you work out how the solution comes to you. So yeah, it's get into that happy hormones stage.
And I was just thinking, as you were talking there, I was thinking about how powerful our mindset is, because I can remember being told I had to do something. Now I'm very good, and if it's what I want to do, I will do it. If it's what I really don't want to do, I'm going to dig my heels in and I'm not going to do it. And I may play along and I may be compliant, but I can guarantee my mindset is going to set in stone and I am not going to shift. I wondered if we could talk about how important it is to stay aligned to your inner, because mindset does align with goals. It does align with how we drive ourselves, the choices we make. I wondered if we could touch a little bit on that as well, because I know.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where I'm certainly, when I talk about goals and having positive goals, that actually what it does is it helps you focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. And so it drives you forward in a very positive way. I think if you think of the carrot and the stick scenario, there's only so long that the stick is going to motivate. So if you're kind of moving away from pain is one thing, but you want to move forward towards something. And this is why it's really important that you look at what you want, not what you don't want. So, I mean, the typical scenario at this time of year is people want to get fit and they want to lose weight. So they're worrying about what they're eating. They said, I don't want to eat chocolate anymore. Well, what you're doing is you're programming your mind to eat chocolate because you're mentioning chocolate all the time. You're not, and your subconscious doesn't recognize the negative. It only recognizes that more chocolate. So actually, you're going to eat more chocolate. You'll be more focused on that. So it's really a little bit of a question of be careful what you wish for, and set. And that's when I talk about goal setting. Is it's about doing it right and having goals that are positive affirmations of what you want. It's the same thing. Is that the thing where you we've all done it. Lost your car keys, yeah. And if you go, I can't find my car keys. Where are my car keys? I can't find my car keys. What you're doing is you're actually self-hypnosis. You are programming your mind not to see the car keys. So even if they were right in front of your face, your brain has been programmed not to see them because you say, I can't find my car keys. Yeah, they're not here. So, and that's where we've all had that somebody else that we're living with, a loved one, a partner, a child, where you can say, oh, for God's sake, they're right in front of your face. Yeah. And what it is that you've programmed yourself not to see them. So I challenge you all to say next time you can't find your car keys, is you say it in a different way. And that's a very simple way of explaining how the positive affirmations work. So if you say, my car keys are here, I have them, I know they are here, I will find them now, 9 times out of 10, you'll be finding your car keys. So I would definitely say that is where you can play a little bit around with those things on something quite simple, and you can see the very positive effect. And if you scale that up to bigger things, then it has a massive impact.
Yeah, and there's this thing, isn't there, that sometimes you can be in a stasis. I love this from Star Trek. You're in the stasis field, and of course that shows my age. But you can actually sometimes have to sit with your thoughts, don't you? Sometimes you're stuck. People come to me and they're stuck. They believe they can't, then I get them to believe they can, and then they do, and they go on and be successful public speakers or successful on camera and all these different things. But there is a moment where sometimes I meet someone and I know that they're not ready to move on. They just haven't found the key. Funny enough, talk about keys. They haven't quite found the key to unlock it. And I wonder if we could talk about that bit, because I know a lot of people give themselves a really hard time. And I'm going to use the word hard. Normally I say challenging, but I'm going to say they give themselves a really hard time. They really beat themselves up. They almost push even further onto negativity rather than just leaning in and just going, it's okay to do nothing.
Yeah. Oh gosh, we're getting into some deep psychology now, aren't we? Well, I would say, it's okay to acknowledge that you're sad, you're not, things aren't going well. And it's important that you do, because suppressing emotions doesn't help. If you suppress your emotions, then all you're doing is you're putting a sticky plaster over it, and one day they're going to blow up. And it just, and we've all had, particularly people that have an element of resilience, as they kind of quash their that sensitivity. But so it's acknowledge that emotion, recognize how you're feeling, and think about how would you like to be feeling. And actually there is a cycle, there is a connections, because our thoughts dictate our feelings. So if you're sad, your body, you feel sad. When you have a thought that makes you sad, your body language changes. So it's the thought, and you feel sad, and when you feel sad, you change your body posture, and then you change how you feel. It changes how you react. It means that maybe you start to see more negative things, that it triggers a automatic response, so that when somebody speaks to you, snap at them, then makes you feel bad, and you've got this cycle. Then you're in this cycle. Now you can say, okay, I feel sad. That makes me sad, but that's okay. And you can change the thought. Yeah. Because you can recognize, I've had a tough year, but do you know what? I've learned a lot. What's good that I can take away from this? What have I learned that I can do differently next time? And by changing that thought, you immediately, the minute I say that, you can see there's a smile on my face, because I'm thinking, oh, what can I learn from this? And then you have these positive thoughts, and then you feel differently, and your body language changes. So you are more upright, you're more positive, and that changes the way you respond. So that when somebody does ask you, how was your year? Or how was that week? Or what have you done this month? That you've got a better response. You go, well, this happened, but what I learned from it was this, and now going forward I have a new approach. And that's the way of using your mindset and positivity in a good way, without being what is sometimes termed as toxic positivity.
Yeah, there's a big moment on that. We'll come back to toxic positivity. Not that I can speak, but I was thinking about this. As you were talking, I was thinking about the word curiosity. Now, Luigi Salmaralgi mentioned this on the Wise Way yonks ago, and curiosity is how I view my moods. Now, that could be because of what I've gone through in life, because years ago when I was right down on the depths of despair, I wanted to know why I was on the depths of despair and what I could do to change my life, to change my mindset. And I view, because I do have bad days, I'm positive most of the time, but I do get down, I do get sad, and I do get frustrated, and I definitely get angry. Oh, you don't want to say that. But curiosity is something that I've always, when I reflect, and I do reflect on how I've reacted and how I've delivered something, or how I've spoken, the impact, the subtextual connotations, but curiosity is always at the heart of that. I don't know if you've got anything to add on that.
Yeah, I think when we talk about a negative mindset is when we get stuck in a cycle, yeah, and you don't move out. And a lot of people talk about curiosity being one of the keys to get out. So if you're curious, and curiosity is a key to a growth mindset because you want to know more, yeah, you want to know more. You're curious about how that works. So you're interested in new technology. You're not just saying, oh, I can't do that, or it's not for me. You're curious about the new technology, or you're curious about the new people that you meet. And it's that curiosity that gives us this attitude and this growth mindset to learn more, experience more. And I think that when we can we flourish, it's like the curiosity is a little bit like the bud of a flower, and when it starts out, it's this little bud, and it's going to turn into a beautiful flower, but you don't know, so you'd be curious about what it is. Or maybe it's that potluck when you buy seeds or a plant or something, you've no idea what it is, and you have to wait for it to grow to find out what it is. And that's a really lovely way to see the growth mindset. It's literal as well as quite analytic. Yeah, that's quite a beautiful
that takes me to patience. I'm loving this because got to put it out there. We have no idea where these conversations are going to go. We do not plan them. Yeah. Even the post yesterday where I put out scaffolding, I'd forgotten that you'd got scaffolding going up, and that still makes me giggle now. Yeah. So patience, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Patience, because we're not naturally patient.
I think when you're very driven, you want your goal yesterday. Yeah. So you have a goal and you say, oh, this is what I want. And then you're disappointed that it's not happening now. And I'd say that I talk about the goal mapping forever, but actually come and do some, and then you'll understand why. So what we talk about in goal mapping is it's really important to have a goal, something to strive for, because that's a motivator. That's the thing that gets you up in the morning, and you know what you're going to do, because quite a lot of the things that stress us out and give us a negative mindset is not knowing what do I need to do to make a difference. But if you've got a goal, at least you know what steps you need to take towards that goal. But sometimes it feels too far away. It feels like you're never going to get there. Yeah. And so it's really important to be patient and enjoy the moment. Yeah. It doesn't have to happen tomorrow, but when it does, you'll be ecstatic. You'll have the things you're doing. You've worked out what your why is. And then you'll know why you want what you want, and how you will feel when you achieve your goal. But it's really important to enjoy the journey and stop and smell the flowers. As we're getting very poetic at the moment.
We are.
It is really important. Yeah, but it is really important to enjoy the moment. Is look around you, enjoy the people that you meet, the things that you do, the new experiences you have. And just rejoice in the moment as much as striving for that goal.
And it's important. I think sometimes we get so caught up in doing, and I was speaking to someone earlier, and they were so busy doing. And you've got your family pressures, you've got life pressures, you've got to go to the shops. There's so much pressure on us, and yet we forget sometimes. And I know we've got this old adage, make sure you fill up your cup. We all go on about it, particularly in parenting. But sometimes you've actually got to sit still and smell the roses. Sometimes when yesterday, it was brilliant. I was driving, going to see my parents, and I had pink, and I love pink, but I had pink blasting out. If anyone was driving past my car, I think the whole car was vibrating as I was screaming and singing at the top of my voice. But I took a moment to enjoy that. I took a moment to connect. And even though I was driving, I was able to look up at the sky and breathe in. And in that driving, I do a lot of thinking. I do a lot of processing in the car.
Yeah.
So I don't get to do it very often, but that's where I grow. I don't know if you can talk. I know a lot of people talk about journaling, but I'm not a journaler. I'm a thinker and then an out there. So I wonder if you could talk about mindset and journaling and how to just reprogram the mindset if you're in a negative one to a positive, and then also about the toxic positivity.
Yeah. So I'm very aware that I've got a very weird color on my face. I'm not normally this bright red. What I would say, there's a couple of things. Everybody processes things differently. So we talk about a conscious mind and subconscious mind. And what you do is you just need to take a break from intense thinking to allow your mind to process it. And people do it in lots of different ways. Some people run, some people walk, some people journal because it helps them. I'm a bit like you, actually. I find that driving helps me as well. And what it is what you're doing is you're taking away, you're doing something where you need to concentrate enough to stay safe on the road, or to keep running at the right pace, or to walk the dog, or whatever it is. You're concentrated enough, but you're not adding more information to your mind. You're letting it process slowly. And I think that's really, really important. I mean, there were times when I found I would volunteer to go and muck out somebody's horse, because actually what it did is I had to concentrate enough, but it gave me time just to give my head a break. And I think it's really important that you do, and that you find the different ways. For some people, the other thing, baking a cake, making something, so you've got something physical, especially when our day is very much about ideas and pushing paper around. It's having something physical is quite important. Touch is really important. So if you're kneading bread, or smashing the hell out of bread, or punching a bag, that's all really good to get rid of some of that adrenaline, and just to give your mind a chance to rest.
On that one, I've got to tell you, because obviously you don't know, but you did get one of these. I was really stressed with a couple of months ago, and you did get one of these. And I make soap, so I'm a bit funny when you think hard nose, off there, public speaking, camera competence. I crochet and I make soap and I make candles. So kind of a bit strange. But was in one of those moods where you just need that tactile stuff.
Yeah.
You need your brain to just slow down. It was back to that point where I knew I was running too fast and I couldn't slow down. So I made some soap and I allowed it to set to a point, but then I could put it apart like slime.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say to people, go and grab your daughter's slime or your son's slime, but pulled it apart where it's slime, and then I threw it in, and then I got more soap and more soap and more soap, and then you got a lovely slab of soap.
Yeah, and that's where actually stress balls come into play. And we talk all about balance. It's about having a real balance. So making sure that whatever it is that you do, that you balance yourself out. So if you have, it's almost like the more mental stress you have, the more physical activity you need to counterbalance it, or whatever it does that relaxes you. And it's that kind of thing. So this is where, everybody's trying lots of different things at the moment. It's where the cold water swimming comes in. This is where various activities come in, the painting, and all that kind of stuff. And it's not about being good. It's just about having a little bit of an outlet in a different way. Yeah.
So I wonder if we could, because we've mentioned it, we've danced around it to now. Toxic positivity.
Yeah. So I suppose what we're saying is, if we are constantly only ever whatever the situation is, trying to turn it around to be positive, then actually what you can get to the point is you can't recognize that there's a negative about something, and all you're doing is that is not being balanced. Yeah. So what you're doing is you're pretending there is no negativity and there is no challenges in the world. And I think that that's a dangerous thing, because it, like I said, eventually you become so overwhelmed. So what you're doing is you're kind of building a wall around the bad to keep the bad things out. Well, there's only so high you can build that wall before the bad overflows. And I think that is where the danger comes, in being too resilient. And I'm sure and I know from bitter experience that being too resilient has a negative effect, because always trying to hold it in and be the tough person means that at some point we break.
Yeah.
And so this is a real call out to those people that they're the ones that you always fix things, that are always there. They're always there to help you. They are the ones that seem to have it all together. Well, they have bad moments too. And if you're one of those people that gives help but doesn't take help, then you need to have a think about it very carefully. It's really important that we work together as a community, and we accept help. If you want to give help, you need to also accept help. And I think the easiest thing that you can do is, if you feel like you don't want to reach out to a friend and say, I'm having a hard time at the moment, that actually how would you feel if you found out that that friend was having a really tough time and they didn't reach out to you? Wouldn't you be desperately upset that they didn't think it was okay to ask you? So that's all I'm saying, is ask for help, recognize when you're having a bad time. It's human. It's about being human. And it's all about making sure you have that balance. And there is real power in, a problem shared.
But I'm gonna bring a caveat in there, and I am, because I 20 years ago, so my backstory. 20 years ago, I asked for help, and I asked for help from the wrong people.
Yeah.
And so you've got to, when asking for help, if your heart and your head, if the advice you're getting when you ask for help and your heart and your head don't agree, but you think you're doing the right thing, but it doesn't feel right, just from my own experience after finding out something last week, really, really trust your gut and your instinct, because if I'd known what I know today that I didn't know last week, I would have approached things differently over the last 20 years. And it's really interesting, because I did ask for help, and I really did ask for help, but I asked for help from the wrong people. And it's a funny one, isn't it? Because it took a lot of bravery to ask for help.
Yes, it does.
And that's the thing. If someone is asking for help, make sure that you're really listening to what the help is that they need. So I'm a resilient person. I'm somebody who keeps surviving. I survive. I will help everybody, but I don't ask for help. You know me. I'm the survivor. Yeah. I'm the strong one. So if suddenly you see me, and oh boy, have I blown up my life. I mean, we could do a podcast episode on all the times Kirsty has come along and self-destructed her life. Maybe we should do that.
I think if we did that, I think we'd have that would be a never-ending process, because I think I've done that as well. I think that's what we're all very good at, and that's, again, the self-sabotage thing is why do we do it? Because actually we're quite comfortable with a failure. Yeah, failure is part of what we're doing. Is when you're very comfortable with failure, that success feels more scary and more unfamiliar, and that's where people don't have the bravery to accept success as well. So that's
huge. I mean, that's another episode on its own. I still struggle with that, because that takes me back to that story about, if you go crabbing, you get one crab in the bucket, the crab can climb out. If it's got enough water, it can climb out. You put another crab in and it can't get out. It's being pulled back in. And there is that moment with success that, where you get a little bit, and especially if you come from me, I grew up my parents were in a council house. So, I got into a council house, and then actually, everybody, I got a grant, and from my secondary school, I got a full scholarship to a private school. And so suddenly I had to change my thought process. That was quite huge, because I was on a council estate. It wasn't a rough one, don't get me wrong. It was really beautiful. It was a nice council estate. The school was just up the road. Then I got this scholarship, and that was successful, and people saw me as successful, even though I was only 11. But that was a really weird one, because I went to private school where some of the children were very, very from affluent families, and I was the scholarship kid. And that has had a knock-on effect throughout my whole life, almost like, am I allowed success?
Oh, yeah. And I think there's so many times when that mindset is, it's quite interesting when you see different families, one person, it's different families. It's in a business environment, in any environment, you're exposed to the same things, but your response is different. Yeah. And it's how you view yourself. And that is back to a mindset thing, and recognizing that sometimes our mindset is historic. It's not necessarily what we think, it's what we've been told. So it's that monkey on the shoulder thing telling you. So sometimes it's really, it's quite interesting to think about, can you hear somebody giving you that negative talk? If there's something giving you that negative talk, recognize whose voice it is. Yeah. And that actually sometimes it'll be a teacher or a parent or somebody that you've had in your past that says that you can't do something. And there are two types of people. There are the type that go, just, well, if you think I can't, then I'm bloody well going to show you I can. Yeah. But there are also the others that will hear that and listen to that. And this is where, when you know that, a lot of this mindset thing is, first of all, it's the very first thing is being aware. It's raising your awareness. Now, I can tell a great story as well. Is my son I was told that my son would never be able to ride a bike or play sports, that his coordination was never going to be good, and his fine motor skills were never going to be any good. Well, I did not tell that child that he would never ride a bike or he would never play sports. And he's gone on to play sports at a top level, and he rides a bike. So this is why I say, be careful about the story you take on board and the attitudes that you take on board. It's kind of a little bit is what your mindset is now can change. You can change how you think and what your attitude and approach is to something.
So Hayley's just popped up with a lovely comment. So let's have a look what she says. She says, what a powerful conversation. Thanks, ladies. Thanks for joining us, Hayley. Yeah, I think this is a conversation that we could take on to mindset number 2. Whilst I was waiting for you to come on, I found a Walter de Wintle poem, which I think would be, I'll put it in the comments. If you don't know it, it starts with, if you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. And it continues on. And anyone who's feeling just a little bit like, life's against you, go and look at it. I will put a link into, well, actually, I'll put the words in the comments. I think this has been brilliant. I have no idea where we're going to go to next. Maybe if you like this episode, you can tell us what you'd like us to debate next time, because we do not plan this.
No, we don't. And then there's a joy in that, actually, because it's spontaneous. And if you are struggling with your mindset, come and have a chat to us, because hey, we've been there. We've got the t-shirt, and we can certainly help you change your t-shirt to a positive message.
Awesome, without the toxicity.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I love our conversations. Now I've got to find how to turn this off.